Yeah, all kings on the throne.
It's all of us. You are not alone. It's a brotherhood.
What do you define as a brother?
When we're down, we help lift up each other.
Camaraderie is rare like no other.
Real men raising the wind makes us tougher.
Together,
The brotherhood. The brotherhood.
HS Brotherhood.
What's good, beautiful people? Welcome back to the HS Brotherhood podcast. I'm Joey Torrey. I'm here with the Broski Parish. How you feeling today, Broski?
Man, I'm feeling good, B. What's going on with it?
Good, happy. We're on episode 7.
Let's go.
And today we have a special guest, another brother from the Brotherhood, Mario. I met him a couple years back.
Word.
Real good guy, interesting story, and today he's gonna share his story, and he's gonna talk about his experience with clinical trials. You know, I'm not too knowledgeable about clinical trials.
Word,
I don't
same
know
here,
about
bro.
you, but I know Mario has a lot of knowledge when it comes to clinical trials, and I think his story is important, and we're gonna hear from him.
Yeah. Let's hear it. What up, Mario?
Welcome to the podcast. How you feeling today,
Welcome,
bro?
Bro, just chilling, ready to talk clinical trials and HS.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you here. So basically, you can just start off by telling your story and then kind of just segue into like how did you get into clinical trials?
Yeah.
For sure. So, so I'm Mario. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've had HS for probably like 26 years or so, plus or minus 2 years of that. So, I unfortunately, have had it for a long time. And there wasn't nothing like this, in 2001 when I was dealing with all this. But yeah, man, my story's a lot like everybody else's, right? I went years and years without knowing what was going on with my body. This is back in the day. I know, Parrish, we talked about this, but back then, it was, cut abscesses open, draining them, packing them, moving on with your life. And I didn't know what's going on with me, so I would just visit emergency rooms and urgent cares. I've visited well over 100 visits between, urgent care and ER visits over the years. And it was tough, man. It was tough sledding. I didn't know what was going on with my body. When I first got HS, it was on my earlobe. That's the first area where I got a flare up. And it's weird. My HS has moved to like certain parts of my body over the years. So I started on my bottom. It was kind of bad there, then went a little bit into my armpit. But the predominant area, which is probably like started in 2012, was my back. So, it was a struggle getting the right diagnosis because everybody kept telling me you just got real bad cystic acne, right? So I saw doctors. I got put on Accutane twice. Obviously all the antibiotics we take, and it just made it worse, to be honest, like really, really bad. So, like 2011, I think, go to the emergency room like I always have, right? To have an abscess drained, and the doctor refers me to this dermatologist, and I don't know why this one time I decided to go to see her. Maybe, my wife, or she was my girlfriend at the time, encouraged me just like, let's just go to see what this guy has to say. And it was like a colorectal surgeon, right? So it's like total left field, not knowing what this guy was going to say. So I, grudgingly, I'm like, all right, we'll go talk. So I'll go see this guy. And like at this time, like I had it like in my thighs, right? Like the inside of my leg. And he looked at it and like, dude, like literally like in 30 seconds, he's like, you have hidradenitis suppurativa. And I looked at him, looked at my wife, and I was like, what? Like, what's he talking about? Yeah. And sure enough, he hit it like spot on, bro. And I was like, the first time, like I was so relieved, you know what I'm saying? Because, dude, I've been told I got MRSA, I'm dirty, yeah. I sit in I'm wearing too tight clothes, like all the crazy things that we have to hear.
Right.
So I was relieved when I heard that, and then we got in the car, and I started reading about it, and I was like, bro, this is not look promising. And, I know we all have had it for a while. Back then there wasn't much. There wasn't much on the truck, for us to be treated with. And so I go see my dermatologist, and she starts, the regular course, doxy, clindamycin, the antibiotics. And so I start having these brief periods of like my HS not being bad, right? But the problem that I always kept running up against is that nothing would last long term, like 6, 7 months max, if I was lucky. And then I started this whole like odyssey of different biologics to try, right? Like Humira, Remicade, Cosentyx, Halt, kind of like everything that you could possibly throw at it. And it just didn't work, right? So, and I'm working this whole time, right? Like all of us dudes, we got to do, right? We got bills to pay. I got, people depend on me. And, so I'm like trying to manage all that at the same time. So, we're talking a period here of probably like 8 years, right? Like say 2011 to 2019. Had surgery, had big HS surgery done up in Detroit with a CO2 laser. It worked out really well. And then come like COVID, my HS like hit another gear. Like it just, when I say it took off, it got bad, like bad, bad, bad. I was working, I was like super busy with work, super stressful job. And I went to go see my dermatologist, and like at this point, she's like, there's nothing that I can prescribe to you right now that's going to like maybe give you some hope. And she said the only thing left that we can really look at is a clinical trial. And she had mentioned it to me in the past, but I just never really like took it serious. But at this point, like it was so bad, my HS was so bad, I just was like, I got to do it. I got to try it to see if it works. So I started that like in 2020. Was it 2020? Yeah, late 2020, like November, I think is when I started, November 2020. And I don't know, can we name the company? Can I name the company who sponsored it or?
Yeah, that's not
Yeah. Yeah. So I did it with Insight Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And I got enrolled in their trial, which was, their JAK inhibitor. And, it was tough, bro. Like straight up, there's a lot of things like I don't say I wasn't told, but I didn't really understand what it really meant. Like one of the biggest things I didn't know, there's like this washout period, right? So I was on Remicade.
Okay.
Right. So I had to stop that like 2 months. No, 6 weeks. So I had to stop taking the Remicade for 6 weeks, and then I got enrolled into the trial. So then there was a 4-month period where it was like a placebo. So I didn't know if I was taking a real medicine or a sugar pill. And I had to do that for 4 months. And I really didn't understand that you can't take anything for your HS during those 4 months, basically during the entire time of the trial. No antibiotics, no body washes, no prescribed body washes. Obviously, no biologics, nothing like that, nothing for pain. So, bro, I ain't gonna lie, it was tough. It was one of the most difficult things. It was almost 6 months, was hellacious. Like, bro, I can't begin to tell you the wound care that I was having to deal with. I had so many spots where because I couldn't take anything. Right, my HS was running wide open, dude. Ain't nothing stopping it. So I get to that 4 months, and then then they start me on the real medicine. So, and after I started on that real medicine, and like I ain't embellishing when I say this, in about 10 days, at least 60% of my HS was completely calm. I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, something, this ain't right. I remember telling my wife when I was on it, I was like, this cannot be, like, nothing's worked this fast and this effective. But sure enough, man, like I got into it at about month 2. And when I say my HS had gotten a lot better, I still had like problematic areas that because I couldn't have any kind of surgery like de-roofing or anything like that. But it like totally changed my outlook and from a clinical perspective, from like the medicines that I take with my HS. And I wouldn't have known about this class of medicine if it wasn't for this trial, right? And my doctor, she put me on it because this was the last thing that I could really try. And man, I mean, it changed my life. It was really, I think I was in it for like 25 months or so. And then for whatever reason, they were like, you can't be in the trial anymore. Like, it was crazy when my time was up. And my doctor, she tried to like get them to keep me on it. But they just weren't able to do it. So that part of it was disappointing. And like straight up, I'll be honest with you, when they told me like I couldn't be on this medicine anymore, I got real emotional. I started crying. I was like, dude, I can't go back to what my HS was like. I just can't. Like, I ain't gonna have no life. And I had just, had gone through living hell to stay on this trial. So wasn't able to stay on it, but I tell anybody, like, the way I got to my HS trial, right? It's just because nothing was working. So I mean, I was depressed. I was so hopeless because like it's tough, man, when you've got a disease and does nothing work for it, nothing. So I tell people if you have the time and if you've been in, and if you've failed multiple treatments, like all of the biologics that are available, I mean, it is a viable option. It also helped too. Like I was saving so much money on wound care after the fact, like after I got on the medicine, because I really didn't have many big areas, just the ones that drain all the time, but not too bad. So I saved money from there. They actually paid pretty good. Like I was getting $200 a visit, and then in those first 4 months, I think there was like at least 10 visits that I went to. So like, I mean, it added up, And then you add the savings in of not having to buy a bunch of wounds and bandages. I mean, it certainly in the long run was definitely worth it. And it's not for everybody because you got to have a lot of time because the visits are long. They're like 2 to 3 hour long visits. So they got to do blood work and I mean, so much stuff. And then you got to send information to the company. And so if you got the time, right, then I would 1,000% recommend it for sure. And there's a lot of them going on right now. So I think as overall from the community perspective, I don't think there's a better time right now than to understand what we're doing because there's just so much in the pipeline that's will be beneficial for us 2-3 years down the road.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing. I definitely have a few questions. Like, so warriors that are watching and listening right now and they're curious about participating in a trial, like, what are the questions that they should be asking themselves to know, like, this is the right thing that I should explore as far as clinical trials? Because, like, I don't know if you felt this way, but anytime a clinical trial was presented to me, it was always like, dun, 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 dun. Like, don't know what to expect. There's a scary connotation when it comes to, like, clinical trials. And I think it's just because people don't know. They're scared of the unknown. So, like, what are the questions warriors need to ask themselves to kind of bring down their anxiousness and their stress about participating in it? And how would they know that this is something they should explore?
For sure. So I guess a couple things, right? So let me go. Let me answer the second part, whether or not, like, if you want to know if you need to be in it. For me, it was nothing was working, right? Okay. So if you find yourself in a situation where you've got a good dermatologist and you trust your dermatologist, you just gotta trust that they know what you're doing, right? Okay. But the other way around, they know what they're doing, so you just got to kind of trust them. And I had that relationship with my doctor, in that, I mean, I trust her unequivocally, but I've been seeing her for years, right? So that part of it wasn't as difficult, more of getting over the fact, like, that I kept hearing the word experimentation, right? Or experimental. I'm like,
right.
Well, I don't want to be no guinea pig.
Right.
So the other part that I asked her was, is this medicine being used in other forms, like for other diseases? And it was. This class of medicine's been used for, like, atopic dermatitis, Crohn's disease, UC. So it had been around. So it wasn't like this novel medicine that nobody's never heard of. So that part of it gave me some reassurance, like, okay, it's been around. So I can, look up to make sure that it's a legit medicine. The other thing that I tell people is, I don't know, depending on your own situation, if you're working and if you can take a Family Medical Leave Act, right? So you can devote the time for this. And like I mentioned earlier, it takes time. I think that's another thing that, we have to understand. So a lot of us work, right? Like, a lot of us can't take 2 to 3 hours out of a day,
right?
Go see a doctor. So that part of it is important. And then the second thing, and probably like the most important, is I've shared this with a lot of different organizations, is to be crystal clear that you cannot take anything at all during that period. So a lot of people don't know that. And I didn't know that. I got into the trial and I was having like a really bad flare-up. I was like, well, can I take some Doxy? And they're like, no. I was like, can I take this? And it's like, no. So it's tough from that perspective.
Okay.
But I would say those are probably like the 3 biggest things, right? The time commitment, making sure the medicine, asking if the medicine's been available for other diseases, right? And then just the time part of it.
Right, and trusting your doctor, trusting your medical
team.
Trusting
your doctor, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, you know how it is, guys. Like, you got a good dermatologist, like in my case, like, I trust her. I mean, I push back at times, but
right.
I know she's got my best interest in mind. And I thank her all the time for her, like, encouraging me to get into this drug trial. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to be doing this.
Right. Hold on. Just pause for a second. We're going to take a quick break and hear a quick word from our sponsors.
At HS Connect, we want to take a moment to extend our heartfelt thanks to Moonlake Immunotherapeutics, our incredible sponsor for Season 1 of the Brotherhood podcast. Moonlake is a clinical stage company leveraging revolutionary nanobody technology to develop next-level medicines for immunologic diseases. For more information on Moonlake, visit moonlaketx.com.
Right. Well, I got a question for you real quick. Because I was listening to you and you were saying how nothing wasn't working for you. You was just nothing. So that's why you went with the clinical trials. I'm in that position right now, and I know other warriors are in that position where nothing wasn't working and you lost. Like, side effects, that's what be having me worried about it. Mm-hmm. Did you have any, like, crazy side effects when you was on the clinical trials?
Nothing.
Wow.
Like, literally not. No, I take that back. So one of the clinical trials, like, you get like little ingrown hairs, and I got them like on the back of my leg, like in one little area, and that was it. I didn't have anything. I didn't have nausea. I had some fatigue, like any biologic, but it was like I've had Remicade fatigue, and it was nothing like that. It was super manageable. Like, nothing, man. I didn't get high cholesterol. My blood sugar didn't get out of whack. My kidneys were fine. My liver was fine. And they monitor it the entire time. Like, when you go for your visit, they draw so much blood work. Like, they did an EKG. I had to get an x-ray to begin with to make sure I didn't have, like, tuberculosis and whatnot. But I didn't have it. But now, when I was looking at it, like, there were some side effects that were listed, like, cancer and all this other jazz. And I'm not diminishing it. Like, I know when I see that word, especially biologics, it's like, oh, for real. There's some TikToks and things, doctors have talked about it. But for me, it certainly that risk was outweighed of not having to deal with my HS, you know.
All right.
But I didn't have any side effects, like, you know what I'm saying? It was worth my while, put it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Word.
Yeah. I also have another question too, Mario. So, with your experience participating in clinical trials, what are some of the key things a company can set up, especially tailored for an HS warrior? Like, what are the key things like a company should look for, or how they should design a clinical trial, especially for like HS warriors, so it can be as easy for the patient, because it sounds like, you know, it was super stressful at time. Like you said, it's a big time commitment, and you know, we got to keep in mind we're in pain too. And then
Yeah.
you go through that washout period, and you can't take anything. Like, so what are the things the companies have to design in order to make this as easy as possible for the warriors, so they can stick in this clinical trial and hopefully see light at the end of the tunnel?
I think, and I talked to a couple of companies about it. I think first of all, they need to be a little more flexible
Okay.
within their clinical trials. And I've seen some of the ones that come out. Some of them are now letting you take antibiotics during, or if you have a real bad flare, you can take for like 7 days at a time. Well, one of the things is access, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get people to the doctor's office for the clinical trial, whether it's an Uber, a Lyft, a ride voucher, something, right? Because,
Right.
you know, like I told, I can remember who I was telling, I was like, you're asking me, you know, to come see a doctor when my HS is at the worst it's really going to be. I mean, because call it what it is. It's going to be the worst it's going to be, so you can't take anything. And you got to make me get in the car, and I got to drive, and I live in Atlanta, right? So, like, and where there's nothing close, nothing conveniently close. That's tough, right? Because I don't feel like driving 40 minutes to my doctor's office. It would have been nice to have that option available. I think the other thing is having some kind of peer-to-peer support,
Mentorship,
right? Whether it's
counseling.
informal, but it would have been nice to talk to another warrior at the beginning of it. Be like, hey, what can I really expect from this? Like, no doctor talk, like,
Word.
you know, patient to patient.
Yeah.
So, those two are probably the biggest thing. And maybe the third thing, and it's, you know, a lot of these companies, when they're putting together their trial at the sites with their doctors, right? So they do all this preparation, but there's not a patient involved in any of those meetings, right? Nobody from an advocacy group, nobody. It's, you know, doctor, pharmaceutical company, which I get it, right? But without patients, the wheels don't turn. So having a patient being part of those pre-planning or pre-call meetings, like I go to my dermatologist's office, it's on my bag, give me a comfortable chair, especially if I got to be there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, I got to sit in it hurts, you know what I'm saying? So make sure the Wi-Fi works, make sure your technology works when you get there. So, you know, little things like that, right? Just attention to detail.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you another question?
All day, brother.
My man. All right. Now I know I'm thinking about myself, hearing and thinking about other warriors. If we want to get into it, like where to look, like how do you find clinical trials if we really want to look and get into it?
So you can go to, I think it's like clinicaltrial.gov. It's not an easy website to go through. So I typically refer or tell people to go to HS Connect. I think Brindley's built out a whole section that takes you to the clinicaltrial.gov, but it gives you a little synopsis of this is the medicine, this is where they're at in the phase. Here's the company that's sponsoring it. Then it'll take you to that to the government website.
Okay.
So probably that's where I would start, just because there's a list of dermatologists in there and where the clinical trials are at geographically. That's the other thing. You got to make sure one's relatively close to you.
All right.
P, you got any more questions for him?
Oh no, he said a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Mario, is
Yeah,
there,
you got a lot of things on point with that.
is there anything you want to focus on?
No, man, listen, the only thing I can just, and I tell people, and I've heard it said, because I know there's not much anything original what we say, but it's never a good time to get HS. But right now, if you were to get HS, there's multiple options finally available for us. So, and I can tell you in my work, like, when I don't say work, in my just personal time that I've talked to, companies that sponsor these trials, there's a lot of effort going on behind the scenes to make sure that there's new forms of treatment coming out for us, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wants to fight to the HS high right now. So, we just got to use it to our advantage in that everybody's, hot to trot on HS. So I'll say, man, don't give up hope either. We're all in this together, man, and, we'll all persevere together as long as, we're rowing in the same direction.
Absolutely. And Mario, for the people in the community, if they want to follow you, where can they find you? Are you on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Otero, Bama, but TikTok is the one I'm trying to grow it, trying to be like you guys.
We got you, man.
But
Word.
on TikTok, I'm a dad with HS.
Dad with HS.
So I got a few videos out there, and I gotta get out of myself and just do it. So, but yeah, that's give me a follow. That'd be great.
We got you, brother.
Word.
Listen, I deeply want to show my gratitude to you for coming here and sharing your story.
Word.
It's really inspirational. It's informative. I'm pretty sure you realize you're changing the narrative when it comes to clinical trials being scary and just inspiring so much hope to the warriors in the community. So thank you, bro, for coming back.
Word.
We might have to do another episode with you. I'll send you a text later on, and I appreciate your time, and we appreciate you, bro.
Word, definitely. Thank you.
No doubt, guys.
Word.
I appreciate you guys, what you're doing, man. So thank you.
Thank you,
All day,
brother.
man.
Have a good evening.
All right.
All right, guys. Be good.